see the world through other people's eyes. Now, empathy is a quality of character that can change the world.
We were just talking about kind of that sense of constriction that can kind of happen, and I feel it within myself too. I can viscerally feel my own constriction in life, and it's painful. It just hurts. And it's like
it's so painful to feel that. And I think that that's the release that happens when we go to the movies together and we're sitting next to each other, and the handkerchief, I think, I can't remember who wrote this, but one handkerchief comes out and dabs 1,000 eyes. The guy who wrote Dylan, Sidney Michaels, said that. And I love that image, just that we're all sharing the handkerchief together, and then we forget our individual lives and we come together and have that experience that Aristotle talked about, catharsis. So there's two parts to the work that I do with actors. The I must work, awakening to the mission of a storyteller that goes beyond, the challenges that actors are faced with. And I think that the challenges that actors are faced with are very similar to the challenges that we're all faced with. An actor doesn't get to pick what they're going to empathize with. And so they are asked to be that mother on Monday and a murderer on Tuesday. So that can open up a whole feeling of, well, I want to be that part, but I don't want to be that part. Well, I'm right for that part, and I'm not right for that part. And they tell me I'm right for that part, and they tell me I'm not right for this part.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this stuff that goes on with actors. It's like where they start to cast themselves in very limited little boxes. And of course, the business that's a whole other story. But if an actor is only as expansive as the way other people see them, then if we're only as expansive as our externals, if we're only as talented as our acting partner, or as talented as our environment, then I don't think that we will develop our Michelangelo self. We have to, as artists, be the people in society who create the climate of expansion, who create the climate of empathy. It's up to the artist to do that. It's not. That's the function of art, is to create a climate, the circle of empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, I'm hearing two things there. One is if we're feeling the constriction, which we have in our lives, that it's through taking on all the roles, opening ourselves to taking on all the roles of life, all the positions, that each of those kind of opens up that visceral constriction that we might feel in life. And that being said, that could be for everyone trying to do that. But that art in general, that the artists, it's kind of their role in society to do that and to contribute that opening to all of society, and they have a big role to play in building a culture of empathy in that sense.
As opposed to a culture of narcissism, which is, Majid Taranian, another amazing human being, who speaks about the culture of narcissism and turning it, away from a culture of narcissism into what you're talking about, the culture of empathy and culture of connection. So the actor deals with not getting to pick their story, not getting to pick their empathetic embrace. So every story teaches an actor how to become more empathic. Every part that comes an actor's way teaches them, oh, this is a part of me. And sometimes it's yes, and sometimes it's maybe, and sometimes it's no. But we have to, get through the marble. And we do this, we start by putting ourselves in the shoes and starting to see and smell and taste and touch. And I can talk about the more specifics of it because you wanted some exercise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's one thing. So the actor doesn't get to pick their empathic story. The other, and so a lot of people don't feel they get to pick the story. I mean, in life, you can say, oh, I come from, a background, I come from poverty, or I was molested as a child, and I didn't pick that story, but it's been thrust upon me, and now I'm living from an orphan sensibility, a victimized sensibility. And so a lot of people walk through life feeling as though they didn't get to pick their story. And we can pick our story. We can choose our story. We can integrate The story that I was born with my dad as a Holocaust survivor, you know, it was a difficult experience. And then to go through life as either the person who was annihilated, victimized, separate from, or the person who survived. And what is survival? And what does it mean to survive? So, you know, changing our stories. Then another challenge that an actor deals with is, of course, taking the written word and making it spoken. And a lot of people use the vocabulary, or have limited vocabulary based on education, culture, their parents. You know, we get those catchphrases in our head that are moms or dads or, you know, that don't really serve us. So that vocabulary, when you're given new words, there's a guy named Hayakawa. He wrote a great book, Language in Thought and Action. And he says when you're given new words, you're given the opportunity to be new in the world. So that's the importance of education. So when we're given a script and we're giving words that have been put together in ways we wouldn't normally speak, that opens up a new perception. You said you learned Indonesian. Did it open up a new perception for you? Just learning the language.
Yeah, it's like it's a whole, you kind of see, I would see the world from a different felt sense, actually. To speak another language is a different feeling in the language, in the bodily experience. So to learn the different languages, it was to realize that this one way of being is not the only way, that there are other ways of feeling what it's like to be in the world. So
it's amazing. So an American actor gets a script written in English, but if that American actor also speaks French or German, you know, it widens their possibilities, right? So actors who speak other languages and can play pretend in other languages experience, you know, just seeing in gender. I mean, the minute you're French or German, you're seeing in gender. You're experiencing, you know, things in gender. So given words, taking the written word and making it spoken, and I'll talk about that in a second with you because that can be something that can be used in non-actors. With writing a story, writing down a story, if the person in your experiences with conflict resolution or empathy circles, if a person has had a traumatic experience and they want the other person to experience what they've been through or their perception of it, and they write down, you know, I heard his footsteps coming up the stairs, or I heard her footsteps coming up the stairs slow. And this is the person who's coming to molest them. And you don't have any experience with molestation, you don't know what that is, but you want to be empathic with the person who's been through that. And they write down what they see, what they smell, what they taste, what they touch, what they hear. And they write it down very vividly as a past event. And then I give you that. I give that to you. And you allow yourself to imagine, take the word and turn it into the world. See it, smell it, taste it, touch it, hear it. It's incredible what that does in the body.
Now, if I were, I'm still on the point where we're feeling constricted in our being, right? And it's that awareness of those subtle differences, the taste, the smell, the feelings, and it's that awareness of that subtlety that's kind of like opening up the experience. And so we want to get into we want to open the constriction and maybe the alienation, whatever, by kind of getting into the subtleties of felt experience.
The specifics of it. You know, it's those specifics, right? When we're sitting and you're telling me about Indonesia, if I sit and I just ask you about, you know, when you're sitting there at that cafe and those kids are making fun of you and you're having fun with language, I see it. I hear it. I can hear the laughter, the little frothy laughter of the kids. I had a sense of the kids kind of moving their body towards you and then running away giggling. I could see you sitting in the cafe. I could feel your body sitting in the chair. I had a sense of the heat. I mean, just as you were sharing it with me, I felt the sun on you. I mean, if you really sit from the place, not think of you. It's a big difference, thinking of you in Bali versus thinking from you in Bali. So that's a big defining difference. I don't think of your experience, I think from it. Mm-hmm. So when you say I'm sitting in a chair in a cafe and the kids are making fun of my little mistakes in my vocabulary, I can feel those little boys and little girls giggling. And it's a wonderful experience, you know, and it's a wonderful thing to think from.
And it's also so enjoyable to feel that sense of connection with each other. In a sense, you're feeling connected to me and my experience, and it's almost like we've shared that experience together.
Together. What did you? And if you were going to tell me what you ate there, give me an example of something you had. One fabulous food that you had.
Oh, I still remember. It's like I arrived, you know, on the airplane from Australia. And it's like we came through the streets.
What time did you, excuse me, what time did you arrive?
Oh, it was, wow, it was still light. So I think it was kind of in the afternoon, you know, probably maybe 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And
what was the weather like?
Yeah, it was really clear. Yeah, it was a clear, warm Bali day. And we arrived and we were taking these little mini little trucks that they have. Everybody sits in the back, and so we're driving through the streets, and there's all these shops and all these people dressed in sarongs, and you know, it looked so exotic. I'd never seen a place where everybody is dressed so differently from myself. You know, I mean, then, you know, we kind of got established. Then we actually went, and somebody said, "Where do you go to eat?" And they said, "Mama's." And it was like an all-you-can-eat. I used to remember this. It was Mama's restaurant in Kuta Beach, Bali, and it's like all-you-can-eat, you know, Indonesian food, you know, all kind of homemade, you know, kind of stuff, just all decked out. And it was just like this huge feast that we had, you know, just kind of really diving into the culture. And just kind of being, you know, just kind of swamped in all these experiences and just the kind of the magical kind of magic of it all.
What was your favorite when you go to this buffet, all you can eat at Mama's? What was one thing that was your favorite thing to eat?
You know, I'm probably making this up, but I just remember satay comes to mind. You know, they have these little sticks with little tiny pieces of meat on it. And then they put peanut sauce, you know, pour peanut sauce on it, and you kind of dip it in there and you eat it, and it has a little spice in it too. And
as you're doing that, I'm experiencing, I can feel the satay in my hand. And, you know, as an actor has to have an insatiable, real curiosity. I mean, I could ask you so many questions about how you were feeling when you got off the plane in Australia. What was from Australia and Indonesia? What was on your mind when you got in that cart, you know, and took that drive and was asking people? We could spend hours, you know, getting more specific about the moment you landed all the way through. And that kind of specificity work is what someone like, you know, a Daniel Day-Lewis or a Meryl Streep does. I mean, being so specific in the creations as dictated by a writer. If that were on the page, if what you just shared with me about your experience was frozen, petrified in language, you know, written words on the page, I would have to turn that into a spoken experience. And so I get the opportunity to share it with you and ask questions with you in the flesh. Now the actor has to take the written word and turn it into a flesh, turn it into an experience. So they have to ask lots of questions. They have to ask lots of questions, and then they get answers from their imagined life. They get images that come in, smells and tastes and touches. that from their ancient brain, from their right brain, from the storehouse of all the humans being, they get, that have ever been. It's right there in their imagination, ready.
Yeah, so it's kind of like asking for the details. Keep looking for deeper details. But it seems to be really a sensed experience. Like, ask for the sensations. What were the sensations for it?
It is some people who are highly visual. They need graphic. They need color. They need shape. They work very, very specific in their visuals. Other people who are more kinesthetic or body, it's a more felt sense, and also touch. If I'm going to say I have a brand new baby, immediately I feel his lungs, and I feel his weight, and I feel his little butt, and I feel his breath. But for someone who's highly visual, it's a sight. They see the eye color, they see the graphic. You can't imagine wrong, but whatever particular sense is strong, it's going to be strong anyway. And for actors, they want to develop the other senses as well. So if they're strong kinesthetically, they want to develop, stronger auditory sense. If they're strong, have a good strong auditory or visual, they want to develop their smell or their touch. So we develop that, and then it's also the perception side of things. If the writer, says, I have to go to that party, the job of the actor is to create a have-to-go-to party, not a get-to-go-to party. So it's a different character. If the character says, I get to go to the party, it's a completely different framing of party in the brain. So language matters because it's naming what we framed already in our brain. So the writer's doing their best to give us the language that expresses the framing. A get-to-go-to party is not the same creation as a have-to-go-to party. And it's not the same person. It's not the same tendency.
So you're saying that as an actor, you're reading the material, you're getting the material, and if it's going to a party, there's something about, I'm trying to understand this, is there's kind of like the intention, you get to go or you have to go?
If the writer writes down literally, I'm just giving a literal example. If what you're going to say in the movie to another person is, I have to go to that party, that's a different creation than I get to go to that party.
And you need to tap into that experience and that energy of have to go, and the heaviness of it, and the pushing yourself against it, versus, oh yay, I get to go. This is like this is really great. I'm, yay, good, we're going to get to go. So there's a whole different energy around those two different experiences.
Absolutely. You're a good actor. Of course, unless the problem is that you're lying.
Oh, then you had other layers within layers of it. And
So that's why acting's so complex. But going back to in what way it's applicable for non-actors, is this vocabulary that we've been given versus education, cultural exchange, learning new languages. This gives us an opportunity to broaden not only words but worlds. And when we open up more worlds inside of us through developing, learning new languages, learning other ways of naming things, by reframing, we rename, then we're given that, as Hayakawa says, the opportunity to be new in the world. Then the last challenge that actors deal with, that I think people deal with too, goes back to this, is that an actor is being asked to empathize with a story that he or she normally doesn't empathize with. They don't get to pick what they're going to empathize with. They must take these words and make them spoken. The have to go to party, get to go to party. And then the last thing is they share intimately in front of people or a camera. And so an actor, it's a very courageous thing that an actor does. By empathizing with the part and opening their heart to the part, they facilitate the empathy of the audience. And if they don't do that, then we don't get to go to the movies. We just start watching ego, narcissistic, look at me, persona acting, not empathy acting. I mean, there's a difference between kind of a persona performer and a empathetic transformer. And I love those I love Daniel Day-Lewis, I love Meryl Streep, I love Ben Kingsley, these transformative actors where I go and see them in a movie and I don't see them. I experience myself through them, a possible self. That's what they facilitate, a possible self, because they accepted it as a, you know, as a possibility for themselves. And that's such an amazing thing to be able to do that.
Yeah, with Meryl Streep, there's a video I put together of some of her. I went through some of her speeches and excerpted the parts, and she's talked a lot about empathy and the importance of empathy, and saying how it's like this foundational value to her. So
Yeah,
that's pretty good promotion for the importance of empathy in you know, learning that. So it sounds like you're really saying that empathy is this. Learning empathy is what's going to make you a better actor, and
it's the foundation of it.
It's the foundation.
If you, I think that it's absolutely the foundation. It is at the heart of the art of acting. There is no question about it. It's at the heart. It's at the heart of creating community. And what else is acting? Creating community.
Well, there's, you know, what I'm looking at is taking it farther beyond the kind of the acting. You know, we can have better actors and you know, connect with the community. But there's really, can we make the whole society more empathic, where the value of empathy is not like, oh, there's an actor, I've been moved, that's great, but that it really becomes a core part of our culture. And how do we go about doing that? It's like we have all these social institutions, you know, a justice system, for example, which is really geared towards, you know, the samurai. I think you mentioned the samurai before. Somebody mentioned the samurai, but maybe it wasn't you. It was different in an interview. But it's like, you know, it's two lawyers battling it out. You know, there's not a lot of empathy there, and it's not a system that's around empathic connection and healing. And so you look at every institution, and even the media, you know, to a large, overwhelming extent, is about this, you know, reality TV. Who's going to get booted off the island? How are we going to demean this person? How are we going to put them down? You know, how are we going to ridicule them? And it's just not about empathy. And, you know, so it's like, it seems like we need really an empathy movement. I mean, that's what I'm looking at. How do we create this empathy movement to really, you know, get people behind that and to really transform society, so we avoid the Holocaust? You know, I mean, you talk about, you know, your father going through the Holocaust, my family going through World War II and the horrors of that. You know, how do we head that off from happening again?
So I think we have to pick up the samurai sword of peace and become warriors for empathy, and that's what you're doing, for sure. And I think it begins with, excuse me, I think on one of the videos where you had, maybe it was even the Palestinians and Israelis that were sitting down to speak, and there was a little plaque, and on the plaque it said, you know, the story begins at home. And every story starts at home. It kind of goes back to your mom and your dad and their experience, and my mom and my dad and their experience. And then beyond, here we are together. Somehow we're deeply interconnected, you know, through our experiences. You as a German, of German descent, Republican, you know, evangelical, me from this Jewish, Holocaust survivor, you know, British, democratic, liberal background, and here we're meeting. And we're meeting and having a dialogue as openly and intimately as we can at this moment in time via Skype. I hope you'll come to Los Angeles. I would love to treat you to a wonderful Indonesian meal. I have a wonderful restaurant to take you to. So I really would love to invite you to come and see our theater and you know, meet everybody here, and I'd love to do that and continue our dialogue, because I'm very inspired by you and what you're doing, and I think that's the question, Edwin, is, you know, how do we do that? How do we facilitate? I think it starts life to life, heart to heart, one person at a time. There are many movements, I think, around empathy, a lot of movements, but it's all about how do we come together? You know, how do we come together? And I feel like, man, I feel like definitely that's what you're doing. You're going out into the world and saying, okay, this person on empathy, this person on empathy, let's bring all of these strings together and see what we can do together. And it's a massive accomplishment and a tremendous accomplishment. And so, you know, I do my best on a daily basis, one person, one heart, one life, one student at a time, which is why I sent you those things. I just have so many of those things, you know, of what my students say about in what way not only their art has been transformed, but their life. And I just think it all begins with engagement, one person at a time.
Yeah, and those are beautiful. Yeah, it's those, and those, yeah, you see it sent a list, comments that students had written about your work, and it was like, you know, someone talks about, well, my folks told me to stand in other people's shoes, but it was through this acting that I actually was able to do it. So I actually learned how to do it. Through the Imagined Life, I learned the term empathic sensitivity, and you talked about your sensitivity growing up, you know, being a kind of a highly sensitive person, and they say turn it into strength, so that sensitivity is not something to be afraid of, but is actually a source of energy and strength. And you had a whole bunch of really beautiful
I had one today. One of my, a woman that I've been working with a long time, you know, she just shared this incredible, you know, this tremendous story of how she's become a better mother to her son through empathizing with the mothers she's played. You know, because she's learned, she played an alcoholic mother in a story. A alcoholic mother who gives up her child. And that strengthened her when she went back to her own child. It's really extraordinary what a story can do to together in discussions about empathy, and also your empathy circle, which I'm very interested in and want to, you know, find out more about, or through teaching acting as the art of empathy. In both cases, we're just in our respective areas, you know, where we're standing. I really believe, you know, where you and I are standing, that's where it begins.
Mm-hmm. So it's really having that intention. It seems to me to be one of the first things, and you'd mentioned the importance of intention. So let's have the intention to build a culture of empathy, to foster empathy, and from that intention, everyone just kind of works from where they are, and it kind of builds from there. I am a little concerned about the time. I know that we've gone way over.
Oh my
God. I could talk for hours about this. I learned so much, and I don't want to keep you if there's.
I'm good. I love talking with you. I'm good till 5.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit more then.
I put 2 hours aside for our conversation. I know, obviously, no one wants to watch something for 2 hours, but I'm not. While I'm thrilled that people will be watching this, I'm very, I mean, I really, and I know you want to ask me questions, but at the same time, as a person doing my best to foster empathy in people, I'm so interested in, you know, your empathy circle and how it is you came to do that, and what is it that you're doing, what are some of the practical applications that you're doing with people to foster a deeper sense of empathy, you know, with people.
Yeah, as I've been exploring empathy, it started off as kind of like looking for the landscape. You know, I kind of used a metaphor of, well, I see empathy is important. You know, Barack Obama said we had an empathy deficit. From my exploration of values, I kind of stumbled across the importance and the centrality of empathy, and then really found that this is really what I've been looking for, what I've been kind of about, and just started getting the vocabulary for it. And then started, you know, asking people about empathy and doing these interviews and reading and studying, and you know, I do freestyle dance, so that's
you do?
Yeah, and I have we lost you again. The
freestyle.
Yeah, freestyle dance. So yeah, I do. That's kind of like a real emotional exploration. You know, I've done a lot of kind of my emotional exploration within dance, where, you know, physically mirroring people, kind of feeling my way into their experience, and just kind of what happens. So it's kind of my art form. So I don't know. See, I was kind of talking about in general empathy and the empathy circles, and how it kind of, I've been looking at how do we, you know, what are the ways that we can look at the larger society and change society. And, you know, people give speeches, and that's all good and well. There's acting, and you experience all these. There's a lot of empathy already in society, but what can we be more organized, more systematic, you know, more focused? And I'm thinking that we're creating what we call empathy circles. So we meet on Google Hangouts and have 5 people to a circle, and it's weekly meetings. And where we start the circle with our intention. Our intention is to build a culture of empathy. And then we have a little candle lighting ritual. And then we start with some mindfulness, so sensory awareness, what's going on inside of ourselves. And then we manifest that into a physical manifestation. You know, so it would be, you know, I'm feeling, well, okay, I'm feeling this energy going out. And then everybody reflects, mirrors that. Yeah, exactly. So we're doing mirrored empathy, you know, if you see, and then we keep doing it. Everybody's doing the same thing until we all feel full. I feel fully gotten. You've really gotten, you know, what I'm trying to get, the energy of it. And then the next person. So perhaps you've got something. How you're feeling? What the if you feel it. Oh, it feels so good. Oh, yeah, you can feel that.
I love it.
So we do this kind of mirrored empathy. So that's kind of the mirror. We're looking at it as, you know, self-empathy, connecting to the sensory awareness, turning that into something that's easily reflected by others, and then others reflect it and add, you know, by doing it, you kind of accentuate the mirror neurons, right? So we're kind of, you know, doing that mirrored empathy. And then we go into, okay, how do we build a culture of empathy together? Mm-hmm. And we're just doing reflective listening. So I'll say something, and then and I speak to someone in the circle, and then they reflect back what they hear me say until I feel fully heard, kind of along the Carl Rogers, you know, reflective listening approach. Then it's that person's turn to talk, and they speak to someone, and it just keeps ping-ponging around like that. And so we're looking for other activities. We've also done like imaginative empathy, where we're working on a user guide. So everyone became the user guide. I am the user guide. And what are you experiencing now? I said, well, as a user guide, I feel very lonely. Nobody's paying attention to me. And, you know, I really want some attention. I want people to, you know, do something with me, you know, make me big and strong. I need to, you know, I need to get filled and full. I want to be big and strong.
You know, what you just said is so important about the first step with empathy is the acceptance of the I am, isn't it? I mean, it does have to be I am. Oh,
I am the thing. I am the user guide. That's what you're meaning by I am. I am you. I am.
I am. Because if it's he, then the brain says that experience is outside of us.
Oh, uh-huh.
But the I am is the being place. So the right brain kicks in, imagination kicks in, empathy kicks in, mirror neurons kick in. I am. So that's so important in acceptance of your story. I'm sitting in a cafe, you know, I'm on that bus, or I just got off the plane in Australia. I mean, it is an experience of the I am.
So it might be a way to explore empathy is to say, I am empathy, and what is my experience of empathy? You know, I'm embracing you in a big hug, you know. I'm just all...
Well, I think, you know, again, we go back to those 5 senses where it's I am, because empathy can be such a conceptual word. It's a concept. And we have to turn the concept into something living and breathing and flesh. And so that's where we begin, like you're saying, not I am empathy, but, then I start to really experience, when I sit down and have that saute and I feel that wooden stick and I feel the weight, I begin to have the I am experience of your joy there through the food, or through your experience with the children at the cafe. Yeah, it's putting myself, it's the I am in the chair. And then through that I am empathy. If I am in the chair, then I am empathy.
Yeah, and what can we do? Like, we're looking for activities that we can kind of add to, because we want to have these circles to be reproducible. We have 250 people on the wait list who are wanting to kind of join these. I only have a limited amount of time. And, my partner, Levi, who's in Holland, we're kind of developing this. So we want to do like a teacher training so anyone can, or facilitators, so they can kind of spread kind of virally, that more and more of these circles get created, and that we have these that we have different activities that we can do to we have our intention, but how do we kind of practice it, and what can we do? What are the kind of little activities, practices that we can do?
The three things that I could share with you is the I must work. I do think setting the intention is important together. The I must create a culture of empathy, and then how does that's a very, it's a great statement, but what is the personal I must? What is a culture of empathy to me? I must experience connection with you. I must experience community with you, or I must be heard, or I must hear you. And we have to find out what it is for each individual person as a translation into something sensorially.
So what we're saying is, from setting that intention, that we need to get everyone engaged in what does that intention mean for them. So we need some kind of an activity to say, okay, you're wanting to build a culture of empathy. What does that mean to you? And
I always say, what does that look like to you?
Oh, what does that look like? Okay.
What does that look like to you? What does that sound like to you? What does that smell like to you? What does that taste like to you? So if I really experience connection with you, I really have that, my feeling of connection to you, sitting in that chair in Indonesia with the sun shining on me and playing with those children and learning a new language, the kind of heart, the kind of human being that had that kind of heart to sit and play with children around words and word games. I can feel their giggles. That's, I think, the I am. It's saying, I really want to feel a connection with another human being, and I'm going to put myself in their shoes in all 5 senses. And then I'm going to ask more questions. What were you thinking about? What were you feeling? What was on your mind? And I begin to find out what was influencing you. So ask me lots of questions.
Okay, so I try to translate into like doable exercises.
Yeah, let's do it.
And well, I see it as, okay, we want a culture of empathy, and it's like, so what is it to be? What is a culture of empathy? You are a culture of empathy. What are you experiencing? What is your experience? What are you seeing? What are you feeling? What are you tasting? What are you hearing?
So I might say to you, if we were doing it today, let's say, I might say to you, tell me about an experience that you had this week that you'd like me to feel with you, positive or negative, that you would like to feel heard about, positive or negative. Can you share one?
Which I have. The first thing that's coming is my frustration with, we had this connection that we have. I'm just enjoying the dialogue so much. We've had it crash on us 3 times. So I have a sense of frustration about that. And it's like, because it's been breaking the flow of the dialogue, which I enjoy so much. And so it causes some stress and tension within me. Okay.
So I want to take that on. I could feel it already, but if we're going to do it through an exercise, so tell me what you see at the moment it crashes.
I see that I'm by myself here. There's like, you're gone. It's like there's suddenly, bang, you've disappeared, and the screen is blank.
Screen is blank. Is it black? Is it white?
Yeah, well, I'm seeing myself. All I see is here's myself, and then you're gone, and then I'm kind of imagining people. It's like, uh-oh, somebody's watching this, and now what are they going to, you know? Then you're gone, and then they're going to say, oh, this is boring. This is, you know, there's nothing happening here. And then I try to think of, well, what do I tell the audience, right? The first I did, then I say, well, okay, we just had a little glitch. I hope Diana comes back in a moment. And so I was kind of filling the space a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So I'm starting to feel some sadness here, aloneness, a heaviness about the mission, kind of like, how am I going to, a sense of, how am I going to explain myself? So some need for explanation to others.
Yeah,
somehow personalizing the crash.
Yeah, the crash is like, I can just feel the stress. I can feel tension in my body. We were going like I can feel my body kind of constricting, and
and so what if the crash is the thing that actually creates a deeper connection for us? What would that be?
Yeah, so imagining what it would be like, how it would create
how can we turn that single, being alone on the screen made you want even more, and made me want even more to find a way to each other.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I'm wanting to. I was like thinking, well, maybe we should redo it and have some, use Skype or something, or I was trying to strategize. I'm finding myself wanting to strategize, but you're saying like just imagine how it could kind of.
Well, I think it's about I accept that the crash happened.
Oh,
And now, how do I turn that into something? I want to see the David in the marble. So the marble of the crash has actually created
it's an opportunity to experience stress and constriction. It's an opportunity. This is an opportunity to experience. Oh, this is great. This is wonderful. I'm so glad we had this crash, because now I'm being able to share it with you and experience. I just had this revelation that the crash itself is like the wood is like the brick, and it's allowing me to viscerally experience the brick and see the realization that there's something beyond the brick.
That's right. That's it.
Yeah.
And so to turn that, I mean, wow. I mean, we both, I don't know, I know that I don't know how long you usually are with people. I put aside these hours, but the thing is that we needed it.
Yeah. Yeah, we needed it wow, this is great. This interview is going on, this dialogue is going on a long time, but as we're going longer and longer, we're getting more into it, kind of, this is so great that we're, this is going on so long, or something like that, kind of just really seeing, it's kind of, it's just feeling it and feeling the experience.
Yep.
Yeah, and how to keep doing that.
Yeah, that every time.
No, yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
That every time there's gravity, or every time there's a marble, there's always a David. Whenever there's gravity, you're going to fly higher. So, so in an empathy circle, when somebody starts to reflect back what they felt, what they saw, what they heard, the silence, seeing the black screen, all I see is myself, I'm feeling constricted, I'm feeling frustrated. And the other person starts to see and feel the same thing, and then together, how can we turn that marble into the David?
Yeah, it's the visceral experience of it. Like, I viscerally experienced it by going through it. It was really having, I have to feel it. I have to really connect to it, and then it's like, what am I feeling now, and how do I see the David, underneath wherever that feeling is, and just keep doing it, kind of
practicing it.
practicing it.
It is a daily practice. You know, the actors that I work with, they practice every day. They sit down for an hour every day, and they take the marble of the word, and which is it's frozen. It's just a piece of marble. You know, I was sitting on a chair in a cafe. They have to crack past that marble called words, which is a left brain conceptual experience, not in the body, and open up an experience of the sunlight, the children laughing, the feel of the chair underneath you, the smells, the sights, all of it. And then, wow, then they can say that sentence.
Yeah, so how about for you doing that? Do you have a story, an experience that you'd like to share for the week?
This week, wow, every day. One of the challenges that I have is that I got myself a brand new little puppy, and who I love so much, and he's teaching me so much about, I don't even know how to, and this is not this, but when I wake up in the morning and I see him bounding into my bedroom with his little jaunt, his little boxy body, he's 25 pounds, and he's got a little kind of cock of the walk jaunt, and he's got that smile and those little eyes looking up at me with a little face saying, "Come play with me, let's play." I mean, he's teaching me so much about play as the first thing in the day. Not, oh, okay, I've got this to do, and I've got that to do, but, immediately, let's play. That's what life is about. Let's play. And I have asthma. And I'm challenged with breathing in the right to that kind of love. I mean, literally breathing stored tears, that story is part of my father's story, the right to breathe. And so even though I've done all this work around play, my body still remembers annihilation. So the more I share honestly with people my experience of my father's challenges with deep sadness and fear and doubt. I mean, when you come from an experience like that, learning to trust people is when you know the worst in what people can do, when you know that people are capable of that. The journey back to trusting and empathy it's a long one. And I think that's why my life's work has been about empathy. So being with you today has been so beautiful. My God, it's been such one of the most, I'm so grateful. Thank you. So my experience this week has been, just continuing to say, I can breathe in this love. I can breathe in this life, and I can be intimate with another human being. We can play. We can be like puppies. We can say, hey.
Oh, there! I was feeling myself be the puppy.
And he's teaching me a lot, and just opening my heart to play. That the day isn't dark. My dad woke up with darkness. The day is not dark. The day is filled with play. And I do it for a living. I love it. I don't do it for a living. I do it for a living. I mean, it's my life's breath to work with people in empathy. Not only am I supporting others to be more empathetic, but I'm, every person I'm encountering is a teacher to open up my right to breathe in the world and to be empathetic. And I really deeply appreciate how open and caring and loving. I just feel really heard. And I really appreciate that.
Well, I always sense, like when I hear people's stories, I mean, I sense the beauty in what you're saying, and I feel like, oh, I've got to do something. I've got to, I got to make something happen, and it always creates kind of like a sense of stress within me. So I'm really looking at how do I just connect with people in kind of a deeper way, just to kind of be present, to hear what they're saying, and just be present and just hear, and just to be empathic, and I feel like I really learned, I mean, a huge amount from just talking to you. It's that story of the brick. It was like a huge aha moment. You know, it was like seeing the brick, seeing the experience. I feel like it's transformational, really, for me, having just had that awareness. So it's.
I'm so appreciative. My God, I mean, I really could. I really am blown away by, you know, the feeling that you're talking about. I have too. This sense of, I've got to do something. I've got to do something, and we're doing it. We're doing it. Every time I know for me, every time I willingly challenge my own, you know, and open my heart and open my spirit and open my life up to another human being, I feel transformed by it. Empathy is transformational. Reflecting back, it's extraordinary because we're not alone. I'm not alone. I'm not alone on the screen.
Yeah.
It's this incredible experience.
It's really just speaking to the fears, you know, that the fears that come up, and to see those fears is something that can be just spoken to and can be transformed kind of in the sharing, in the hearing of those fears, of those anxieties, and not stepping away from it, but trying to engage into it, to feel into it, and to you know, to maybe develop maybe a trust in that process too. It's like wanting to trust that this can really happen, that we can really step into the fears, into the anxiety, and the more we do it, I feel myself, that I'm seeing, oh, the more I can do that, the more I can step into that, it would become more of a trust and a resilience, a grounding in that experience. And I think the arts are such a great way of doing that. In the sense, you know, I talked about the dance.
Yeah.
I actually had that awareness, but I was sensing within myself kind of my anxiety and my fear. And I thought, you know, I got this anxiety and the fear, and it's like, you know, I'll kind of brush it aside, go play or something. But I thought instead of doing that, I'm going to go to it. I want to hear it. I want to see it. I want to feel it. I want to touch it. I want to taste it. I want to feel the nuances of it. And it's like as I did that in the dance, like moving, I went more and more into it. And it was like as if as I did that, the fear dissolved and just like you know, just disappeared. But within, you know, 4 or 5 seconds, another one came up, but in a whole different shape, a whole different texture, a whole nother feel. And then I went to that one, and then it was like it's by being present, by doing, you know, kind of looking at the nuance, feeling it, seeing all the different subtleties, and wanting to get as close as possible to it. You know, feel it, and I want to get so close to it. And that by doing that, I could never get close enough because it would kind of dissolve and open. The door would open. And it was like, wow, I'm looking in this door, you know, and it's like, and then it was like within, you know, another 3 or 4 seconds, oh, there comes another fear. Is this one going to do me in? Is this one going to kill me or something? But it was like, you know, but then it was like, okay, I'm going to go. It's like struggle. I'm going to it. And then that door would open. And, you know, it's like, you know, it's like, keep going to the fears and go speak. So I've really learned kind of like the language more like that I hadn't thought of the taste, the touch, the feel of it, to really get into the sensations of it, that really kind of gives it a shape and a body or something like that.
Absolutely. And then you dance your fear, or you speak your fear through story, because it's in the safety, I find, for in safety of an imaginary set of circumstances that allows people to be when we accept an alternative interpretive framework, when we say yes to an imagined life set of circumstances, we're freer to be intimate.
Yeah.
More intimate.
Is that it's like by creating kind of the acting and kind of setting it aside a little bit, that we're not like in the pit, we're not in the pit of fear and anxiety. We can kind of detach a little bit from it.
Actually,
a little bit.
Actually, it's not detachment. I know that there's this sort of idea that in cognitive and emotional, particularly emotional empathy, there's this as if, but I don't think so. I think it's as one.
Yeah.
I think I say I accept the I am. I accept the fear, your fear, as my own. And in accepting your fear as a possibility for me, not only do I empathize with you and experience connection, but I liberate myself from my own fears as well. So it's like a dance we do together. The mirroring exercise. As you dance your fear, I dance with you. And I experience through you your fear and liberate myself from my own as well. And that, I believe, is why emotional empathy creates self-empathy. Like,
so instead of like, is that whole? I kind of this idea that you start with yourself, and a lot of the mindfulness is you got to get into yourself. But I've thought that it's really about seeing myself and others is maybe the starting point, or see others in myself.
That's right.
That's like the first step of that empathy. Yay. Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
Because when we say, I see you in me, you're a mirror reflection of me. Hello, myself. Oh my gosh. Hello, myself. That's when we go, oh, wow, I see more deeply into myself. I widen my empathetic embrace, and I see more deeply into myself. I've developed self-compassion. And that's why engagement with others is so important. And that's why what you're doing is extraordinarily important, because you are in a worldwide engagement in that dance. And honoring me with the opportunity to share that is, I've got to tell you, to dance with you today. It's been extraordinary. It's been extraordinary and transformative. So, yeah, if I would say my main, I must in life is the message of, through engagement with others. It is through engagement with others and seeing others in us. The function of art has always been to see more deeply into life. I don't look at the bowl of fruit on the table the same way after I see a Cezanne painting. I don't bring my own bowl of fruit from my kitchen in Los Angeles to the Cezanne. Cezanne teaches me how to see. So art teaches us how to see. Empathy, which is art, teaches us how to see more deeply into our own lives. So I would say imagined life first, expands our empathetic embrace. Empathetic embrace expands compassionate action, not only for others but for ourselves.
Well, this has been a fantastic, fun. Well, we're on, we're only a Skype call or a Google Hangouts call away, so perhaps we can pick this up, even do some group, discussions or exploration. So I hope it's just the beginning of a beautiful relationship. So.
I would absolutely love that. Please, I would love that so much to continue our dialogue. I'd love to join your empathy circle. I'd love to dance with you more. And I really hope, that you'll take me up on my invitation.
I definitely will, Diana. So this is great. So, okay, well then I know you had to go at 5. We're almost there. So
I can hear my students gathering.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.